Yes, good morning, people. It's another Blue Morning Show, and good afternoon, good evening, good morning to you. I offer whatever suits your time zone, and today I am happy to have Harry with me. Harry, how are you doing today? And more importantly, welcome to Chelsea Perspective.
Hi, yeah, well, thank you for having me on, first of all. And yeah, Champions League tonight. So I'm pretty much counting down the hours till it all starts, really.
Yeah, hopefully it's going to be a good day for us. I hope we win it. I think we'll suffer the beat this for a few games right now. Will be, I mean, maybe this we'll see a different display or different level of performance from the players in the Champions League. I hope that will be the case. Like I said, we'll suffer the beat. We want to see something different today. So, can you tell us a bit about you before we get started, Harry?
Uh, okay, yeah, I don't think I'm the most exciting person in the world, but I mean, I've been supporting Chelsea now probably since, well, about 2003 when it was Ranieri.
Wow.
Obviously, my dad's a Chelsea fan, so it was kind of, I had no choice but to support Chelsea. And yeah, my first sort of, I suppose, football idol was probably Zola. I had a Harry 25 top, which I've got a picture of somewhere. Definitely now. But yeah, no, I've always enjoyed my football. I used to play a little bit, not at a good standard, mind you, but yeah, no, just like my football, and certainly rather watch it than play it. That's for sure.
Yeah, Chelsea. I mean, I started supporting Chelsea during the era of Zola, and I haven't looked back then. Then I loved Chelsea because Zola's ability to entertain the viewers, so that pulled me in. And then they started signing Nigerian players, and then Mourinho came in. I loved his attitude then. You know, lots of, and I haven't looked back then. And practically, I've been indoctrinating my children from their 5 and 2, and they both know Chelsea player's name from A to Z. Yeah, but that's, by the way, Harry. Today's topic, we're going to talk about the contract situation at the club. It is Antonio Rudiger. It is Andreas Christensen. It is what's his name? Cesar Azpilicueta, Captain Fantastic, if you ask me. That's what I like to call him. What do you think about the situation? To me, it is very, very scary. I must let you know. And before we continue, I'll say big up to Tobago, who is in the chat. Nice to see you here, my brother. And also just Viola, a very good friend. She's the one that said to me, you should start smiling. Don't look so serious all the time on camera. And I appreciate that. So, Harry, what do you think about the situation? To me, it is really scary. And I'll tell you why it is scary, but I'll let you go first.
Well, to be honest, I think it's actually quite un-Chelsea-like. We're normally on top of contract situations. Very rarely do you see a player that has their contract ran down until the final sort of year or, literally in 6 months' time. It's one thing, really. It's the problem we've got is they're three quite experienced players. I mean, Azpilicueta's been here about 10 years. Rudiger's been here about 5-6 years as well, and obviously same with Christensen. It's an awkward one, isn't it? I mean, you've got to look at it from different perspectives, really. As a fan, obviously, we all want the best players at the end of the day. We're not really worried about how much we have to pay for wages and all of those things. But I think you just got to look at it from a player and a club point of view. If we go from Azpilicueta, he's won everything now at Chelsea. He's won. He can't win anything else. He's probably thinking, I'm at the end of my career. I'm not first choice. At the end of the day, if Barcelona are offering a contract going back to his home country, it's quite appealing to a player. Same with Rudiger. He's 28, 29 now. So you're talking a sort of player that's got one big contract left to go. And again, I can understand maybe why he's looking elsewhere. You've got Real Madrid linked with him. You've got PSG, Bayern Munich. So again, that's understandable that he might be thinking, I'm in the form of my life. Maybe I can get a better contract elsewhere. And the same for Christensen, really. It sounds like he's almost been tempted by, I don't know if it's Barcelona. Some clubs have been linked with him, and he's probably thinking I can get a better deal elsewhere. So it's down to us as the club, obviously, to offer them what they want. But on the flip side, we don't really want to be bullied. You know, we don't want to offer a player who's sort of 28, 29, a 5-year deal, and then in 2 years' time, let's say he drops off completely, and then we're thinking we've got a player who's got 3 more years and we can't make, you know, any money on him. So I think it's just one of those. You just got to look at it from a player's point of view. I can understand it, and a club's point of view. Provided we've got good scouting, hopefully we'll be all right.
Yeah, here's the question I have for you. I understand the point that we don't want to, you know, them to take us for a ride from the perspective of what the players want. That's a different to realize that football is what they do for a living. Because if you work for an employer, you'd always ask for what you believe measures the work you do or your skill set as a player. But notwithstanding, that's, by the way, the question I want to ask you is this: why did we leave it so late for Andreas Christensen, or for Antonio Rudiger, and also Cesar Azpilicueta? And why did we let players like Pedro? Why did we let him leave, even though he wasn't? We didn't have contract issues with him. We didn't just want to offer him more. And you could say he's still delivering right now in Italy. Do we not understand the importance of letting the older players stay, or do we not understand the importance of those players transition from one era to the all other? You need some older players in the team that will make the transition seamless. But in our case, we seem to let the older players go, even when we see, okay, these players can help us transition from this era to the other era. But it just seems as if since the era of Didier Drogba and Frank Lampard, the transition has always been drastic. So whenever we move from one era to the other, it's like a total rebuild again. And that it takes time for us to come back, and have a strong team that will, achieve success, let's say, for a stretch of time. Why did we leave it so late?
I mean, I think, first of all, getting Thiago Silva on another year has been important. Because as you said, I think if you lose those 3 players this summer, you've suddenly lost 3 experienced heads. And, particularly with Azpilicueta and Rudiger, they're leaders in the team. I think the only thing I would say, and maybe in the club's defence, is probably a year ago, we probably didn't expect to be winning the Champions League. And I reckon if you ask 90%
you can argue it was a miracle.
Yeah, and you probably say that, Rudiger and Christensen, probably most fans would have said, "Oh, let's sell them. They're not good enough." I think the Christensen one's a bit of a weird one because it sounded like the deal was kind of done, and then it all suddenly changed because of, again, I expect there was an agent involved or something along those lines that obviously tempted him with a better offer. The Rudiger one, as I said, under Lampard, I thought it was absolutely dreadful, and obviously Tuchel's brought him back in, and he's been fantastic.
For that of Rudiger, I would just say it was the reason that we didn't offer to renew his contract was his form on the Frank Lampard, because at that point, most of us were thinking that he was going to be out of the door. Even I think PSG was interested, and it was Tuchel specifically because he was still at PSG then. Tottenham wanted him. Some other club wanted him. Would you say the reason was his form then?
I mean, it could be. I mean, I still think you've got to plan further ahead than that anyway. But probably at that time, I said the club might have just thought maybe we'll get rid of him, and we don't want to offer him a new deal. And again, maybe he didn't want to sign a new deal. It's one of those where football changes so quickly, and his form's been so good. I mean, I didn't think he could ever play to this level anyway. That we've almost been backed into a corner. I don't think most clubs would have offered the money we're now offering for him a year ago. I think we probably should have looked at it in the summer. Maybe we did, I'm not sure. And maybe offered him something then to keep him. But, he's clearly at an age where he's in his prime. And it will look like, if we sell him, it will look like, oh, we've made a big mistake there. Because, of course, if we sign a Koundé or another player, we're going to have to pay 40-odd million anyway for him. But again, in my view, as long as we don't risk selling too many players in one window, I think, there is a good scouting network still at Chelsea. I think, Koundé's been someone we've been looking at for a while. So, hopefully, whatever happens, we're going to be all right. I think I've lost you on there. I think you're muted.
Sorry, thank you very much, Harry. That is me probably still a bit sleepy, even though I'm sipping on a coffee. But that's by the way. I appreciate Stream Beer, Queen of all streams, always available to help. Thank you very much. Stab, my good friend. Tobago, my good brother and friend. Also, I see Steve Chelsea. Thank you very much for finding time to join. Just Viola, who taught me how to smile on camera. Thank you, Just Viola. I appreciate you. Fahim, thank you very much for finding the time to join. I appreciate you all. You provide great value to the stream, and that means a lot to me. Now, coming back to the topic, Harry. Now, even though it sounds easy, some Chelsea fans, if you ask them, they would say, just let Rudiger go. He's asking too much. If you see in the comments there, my friend, Stav, Delirious Masden, thinks asking too much. Some say just let him go. Some say just let what's his name, Andreas Christensen go. I can tell you why I would want us to let Cesar Azpilicueta go. It's not easy to assemble a solid defensive line. It's one of the difficult departments in the team to assemble, because you don't just, for instance, we have a very balanced defense. We have Antonio Rudiger, who's very aggressive, who, when you want to fight against the team in our defense, he gives it to you. He's one of those guys that, you wouldn't want to play against us if he's on the pitch, if you're an attacking opposition. We have Thiago Silva, who's one of the most experienced center-halves in the whole world. He reads the game very well. He's not the quickest. He's not the most aggressive, but he reads the game very well, that he always be in the right place at the right moment to stop you from orchestrating, a decisive move for your side. And then we have Andreas Christensen, who also more like Thiago Silva, at defense's balance. But at Manchester United, you see that is the contrast between our defense and that of Manchester United, shows you how important, how difficult it can be to assemble a very good defensive line. We don't just have a ball-playing defense. We have a defense that can be aggressive if need be. So how much of a risk will it be, to lose the three of them at the same time? Because it's a possibility.
I mean, it'd be a massive loss, I think, losing all three at the same time. The hallmark of, as you were just saying, the hallmark of Tuchel's sort of Chelsea has been the defence. Under Lampard, we looked so open at the back, and maybe that's because we were playing in a back four. Maybe that was just the way we were. The only thing I would say that I've been quite happy with this season is you've had, obviously, Trevor Chalobah coming in and Malang Sarr coming in. And actually, when they've played, they've looked pretty solid in there. So, we've obviously got a good system. Tuchel obviously is very good at setting up a defensive side. I think for me, more than the actual player themselves, it's just that leadership. I think you need someone in defence who talks, and obviously Rudiger's someone who's very vocal. And I think with Christensen, I think his strength is his passing ability and his ability to play out from the back. And you could see even in the Champions League final, when Silva went off injured, you barely noticed it because Christensen just came in and he's that similar profile of player. And I think that was probably why Zuma left last summer, is because he doesn't quite have those qualities. He's very much a player who's a good tackler, but he doesn't have that ability to pass out from the back. So, again, I think we just got to, hopefully, with Rudiger, we'll potentially get something agreed. I think Azpilicueta and Christensen might go. I'm just hopeful that the club are, looking further ahead in the possibility that this could happen.
It is a very scary situation. Let's look at it from this perspective right now. If Christensen leaves, I'm not sure how much he earns right now, but I think he's not one of the biggest earners in the club. And we go for Jules Koundé. And if we go for Koundé, we'll be spending around the £60 million plus, right? And then I don't think he will come in and start earning less than what Christensen is earning. He will come in and earn even more than what Christensen is earning. Does it make economical sense to let Christensen go? Because I'm sure he's not asking up to £200,000 right now. If anybody in the chat knows how much Andreas Christensen is asking, please do let us know. And let us know if it makes economical sense to let Andreas Christensen go, because the truth is he's a fine player. And you did use a very good example in the Champions League final when Thiago Silva got injured. We didn't miss him. It just seemed as if it was actually a blessing in disguise because he's quicker. And he has all the attributes that Thiago Silva has too, except for that experience, because Thiago Silva has played the game for almost 2 decades right now or so. So now, will it make economical sense to let him go, bring in Jules Koundé for £60 million plus, and then pay him more than what we're paying Andreas Christensen? Because if you ask me, these players, they know about the rumors. They know the possibility of Jules Koundé coming in. And if you start paying him like, let's say 150, probably, I'm not sure the club is offering up to that, because he's earning well less than most players in the team, even less than Callum Hudson-Odoi and some other players. And then he knows that Jules Koundé will come in and start earning around 200 or close to 200. Will it make economical sense to let him go, pay £60 million from plus for Jules Koundé, bringing him and start paying him around £200,000 a week, and then when it's time to renew his contract, it probably goes up to £200,000 a week plus? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think from what I read, again, whether this is true, I think Christensen was actually one of the lowest earners at the club about a year ago. So again, you can see from his point of view why he would want more money, and I agree with you. I think it does make sense to pay him what he thinks he's worth, and make him maybe one of the higher earners. Because again, as obviously Silva's just signed a new contract, but we know he's probably not going to be here in a couple of years. I still think he's got a big part to play for us. It almost feels like now with Christensen, he's almost been backed into a corner, because clearly there was a deal that the club thought was agreed with him, and then obviously something must have changed, whether it was interest from other clubs, and he kind of changed his mind. But I think this is the problem. You had Hudson-Odoi a few years ago when he was linked with Bayern Munich. We gave him a new contract, and he was almost one of the highest earners in the team, because we expected he was going to have a big future with us, and it hasn't obviously really kicked on. And of course, if you're a player that's playing more games than him, scoring more goals and having a bigger impact on the team, of course you're going to think, well, he's earning this, I should be earning so much. So you've just got to be careful sometimes with what you pay in wages, because then say they drop off, or say they're out the team, suddenly those players that are influential are going to think, well, I'm doing more than him, so why am I, my next contract should be at least comparable, if not slightly better. So, it's a difficult one. I agree. I think the club probably agree as well. It's just one of those where, I think there's a bit of anger on both sides that, maybe he was one of the lower earners, and the club probably think, well, hang on, you agreed this deal with us, and now you're backtracking. And I think he got dropped for a game as well because of it. So, it's a difficult one. I think Tuchel seems to be very good at keeping all the players on side, and provided, we do that till the end of the season, I think, unfortunately, I think one of the three will go, probably two, but, who knows? It could change so quickly. There could suddenly be a conversation a week or two's time where suddenly everyone comes to agreement. So it's hard to judge. But, at the moment, I think for me, Christensen just needs to get back in the team and playing regularly.
Yeah, I think he has the potential. I think you could argue that he's the most equipped to seamlessly slot into that Thiago Silva's role, because he's so calm on the ball. I think even from when he was even younger, you could see that he's never afraid to keep the ball, always calm, always calculative with his moves. He had errors in him, but I think he's past that stage in his career. And I think before I ask this question to prioritize that you would let go if we were up to you. We have a poll running. I'll end the poll soon to find out what the people in the chat thinks. Here's the thing. In your opinion, do you think Christensen, truthfully, now how do you before I ask that question, straight there, are you insinuating or are you saying that Kunde is better than Christensen. If that's what you're saying, let me know so that we can talk about it here now. Before, I want to ask you this. Don't you think that Christensen really is the most equipped to take over the Thiago Silva mantle? He's a different kind of player from Jules Koundé. Do you think he's different from Jules Koundé? And do you think he's the most equipped to, to seamlessly slot into that Thiago Silva's position and lead effectively as Thiago Silva does whenever he's at the back? Because he's a good passer of the ball too, good on the ball, and I mean, just go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'd be lying if I said I knew a lot about Koundé, but it almost felt last summer that we were going to try and sign him in a different position at the end of the day. I don't think he was coming in to be a long-term success for Silva because, again, last summer, Christensen there was no talk of him leaving. Obviously, I think the emergence of Chalobah and maybe Malang Sarr was probably what helped us, leave it for another year. Again, I mean, it's that sort of player now that can play out the back and, pass under pressure from defence is pretty much what everyone wants. So, I'm sure there's loads of those sort of players out there, but, when you've got an academy player that's been there so long, of course, to me, it makes sense to keep him. I don't think whether Christian stays or goes is, going to affect a Koundé deal. I think that's going to happen regardless. But you're right. We've got realistically one more year of Thiago Silva, and what we don't want to have is a situation next season where Silva gets injured regularly, because there's a possibility he's not going to be playing as well as he is now in a year's time. Of course, it isn't. And
he's a human being.
Exactly, and you just think if he is out for say 3 months, and we've then signed a player that doesn't fit that similar profile. We see it at the minute with the wing backs. Now Chilwell and James are out injured. Suddenly we've got players like Alonso and Azpilicueta who can't bomb up and down the pitch like they did. So it leaves us exposed in other areas. So I think it is important that you have a player with that profile still at the club. And, fingers crossed it is Christensen. But, the very least, if it's not, we need to be thinking now about trying to sign a defender that has that ball playing ability.
I think that's a very good argument there, because you used a very good example. We have the manager prefers to play a system that's heavily reliant on wing play, and we have specialized wing players such as Ben Chilwell and then Reece James. And when the moment both got injured, we started having serious issues, and the manager stuck with the same system in most cases without us having those specialized players. And Alonso, who is also a specialized wing player, but he isn't doing quite well like he did in the past few years. So I think you make a good argument there. If Silva gets injured and we don't have a like-for-like replacement for him because we're so used to playing the way he plays, that's a problem. And that brings me back to my argument that these players, they see these things. They know how important they are right now. If we're blaming the players for asking what they're asking, we should also blame the club to a certain measure for letting that go to the wire as it is right now. Because these I've said it before, this is what football is, what these players, what they do for a living. They always want what's best for them. Like the example I use, if you work for an employee, you'd always ask what you think measures the work you do. And I don't blame them that much. We've made the mistake, so we have to find a way to sort it out. And I'm still hopeful that both players will start. So now let's start looking. We're going to let the people in the chat drive the conversation right now. Before I will shut down the poll, and then I'll ask you that question. So if we're to prioritize, who do we take and leave the other person out? So this comment here by Just Viola says, Koundé is better than Christensen. That is a good enough reason. Would you say that Koundé is better than Christensen? For me, my argument would just be they're different kind of players. I don't think Koundé can comfortably play in the position that Andreas Christensen specializes in, like leading the back line from the center. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that as well. And I think the one advantage that Christensen has is he's obviously got Premier League experience, and I think
that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and I think next season we are players that come from foreign leagues, and you've got to give them a bit of time to adapt to English football. I know he's used to the Champions League, and I think that's probably why we're a good Champions League side. Is we got a lot of players that have been used to playing in that sort of style of play. I don't think it's a case of who's better, as you said. I think it's just a case of they're different players, different profiles, and say Christian is not going to they play together. It's not really a competition between them. At the end of the day, we're going to need a defender this summer, and I think if the club and Tuchel want Koundé, that's fine. But it's a separate issue for me than Christensen.
I do agree with you. And again, just my friend, but I disagree with you here. We can fight this, but I'm not going to let you win this fight. I think they're two different kinds of plays. Koundé brings something different, and Christensen also offers something different that Koundé cannot offer. That makes a huge difference. Koundé is more like me. I would like to get him if we lose Antonio Rudiger. He's not as aggressive as Rudiger, but I think what he gets you is that, that signature run from Antonio Rudiger. When he finds spaces, he eats it up, drives from our own half to the opponent's half. If he finds the spaces, he doesn't just leave it. He will eat up the spaces. And then sometimes he's come close to scoring goals with it, So I think Koundé gives you that. Now, let's look at this from my friends. The comment reads, if Rudiger wants 60 million, which is 225K a week over 5 years, Koundé costs 45 million, but accepts 150K, roughly 35 million total, 80 million. We then have an asset worth 60 million. Koundé will be on peanuts. This guy is a financial, I would say nuts. He does the mathematics and he understands the club's finances very well. But the question for you, do you have any problem with this mathematics, or do you think it's correct for you? I'm coming. You go first.
Again, I just think as fans, I think it's one of those things we worry about, but we don't really need to. It's not really our problem. At the end of the day, we just want the best team on the pitch. Win trophies. They're fully aware of the finances around what they're making, what the revenue is. So I'm not too worried about how much it costs. I think in terms of the actual right signing, one that the manager wants. And again, it doesn't have to be a case of Rudiger or who's staying and who earns more. It just has to be a case of if one of these players goes, say Rudiger goes, that we've actually got a backup, and we've got a squad that's going to compete next season. Because we've got to try and improve on our league form at the end. I'm not too worried about the finance. I'm not too. I mean, the maths looks pretty good there, but I'm just quite happy.
Here's what I have an issue with mathematics here. The maths he did there, I trust him, and I love to get him talking because he knows his stuff. But here's where I have a problem with this mathematics here. Mathematics here is the calculations there, if you like, is a 225K. We're not, of us here in the chat, or me or you, has been on the table when both the club and Rudiger's camp negotiate. We're outsider. We just speculated. There's no way anybody can come out and say this is what Rudiger is asking. If you remember before, the rumors was that he was asking for £300,000 a week, and some even said some numbers that's crazy. Some of these things are just speculations. We're not there. That's where I have the issue with this mathematics here. I trust Stav, his knowledge of the game, his knowledge of Chelsea, his knowledge of Chelsea finances. But this mathematics has a simple problem. That is how much Rudiger is asking for a week. No. So, but that's, by the way. Now we move, and I'd like to say big up to Eric Blue. I haven't said hi to you. And if you're in the chat, I haven't said hi to you. Just know that I appreciate you. I know how much value you provide to the stream. And Eric, we should book you a place for Blue Morning for next week. This week is pretty much filled up with guests. And I have here my other brother, Ankit from Almighty Blues FC, who's over time from being a content creator to becoming a brother. I love you, bro, and I appreciate you finding time to be in the chat. Also, we have Ty Talks CFC. He also has his own channel. Ty, good to see you there. And if I miss you, I'll still get to you. So the next good inputs here in the chat is I know it was going to be difficult to find out when I was on Stuff's comment if Rudiger wants. Okay, so big up to you, Eric Blue and Tobago. I was also already said hi to you again. If not money with Christensen, it's length of deal. They twice a great deal. He moved the goalpost. Not that's a very hilarious way to put it. I don't know how well acquainted you are with the Christensen situation. Do you think that's the case? He's agreed twice and changed his mind?
I mean, it's one of them again, isn't it? Where, like you were just saying with finances, we don't really know the full facts of, whether it's contracts in terms of length or money. I think it's, we all trust certain journalists at the end of the day. We all trust that, your Matt Laws, and the Athletic, all those sort of papers are quite reliable. It does seem that it's obviously to do with the length of the deal, but again, I still think there's probably more to do with the finances. That's just my opinion. I don't know. At the end of the day, Christensen's, I want to say he's about 25, 26. So I don't think he'd be getting a really short contract in the first place. I expect he'd be getting 3 or 4 years at the very So, it's one of them where I think, again, he's probably been offered something from another club, maybe better money and a longer contract. And he's probably just come back to the club and said, look, I've been offered this. What can you offer me? And again, I don't really have an issue with that. Obviously as fans, we want every player to think that Chelsea's the be all and end all. But, it's not for players. At the end of the day, they're probably looking at themselves thinking there's loads of clubs they'd love to play for and there's chances to win trophies at all of these clubs. I don't really blame him. It's just tactics, really, and it's sensible of him to do that. At the end of the day, he wants to do the best for himself and, and earn the most money and, be successful. So, it doesn't really bother me too much about that. But whether it is the contract or the money, as we were saying before, only the two people that know that are him and the club themselves.
Yeah, great input right there. And let me ask you this, Harry. It's regarding this comment to say, see the positives to Kip and Rudy as a mentor as well. Overall, what do you think let's talk about what makes Antonio Rudiger a unique player, because the truth is he's on a different class. It is very, difficult. It is rare to find a defender who ticks all the boxes like Antonio Rudiger does. He's aggressive, he's quick, he can finish. He has some shot in him that that's the truth. He has a shot in him some attackers will be very proud of, because he can shoot from a range. He can eat up spaces that most of our midfielders don't do. Most of our attackers don't even do that. He has great passes in him. He's aggressive too. He's good on the ball. Usually when you see players that are as aggressive as Antonio Rudiger, they lack in some areas, such as being good on the ball. But he has everything in him. He has the attitude too. And the truth is, the term Chelsea through and through, or proper Chelsea, doesn't come better than Antonio Rudiger. Antonio Rudiger personifies the term Chelsea through and through. Antonio Rudiger personifies proper Chelsea. What do you think? How would you define his uniqueness?
I think that's the thing. He's a big personality, isn't he? And if you look at the current squad at the minute, we don't really have a lot of those sort of players. If you go back to the past, we had Robinson, Lampard, Terry. We had a lot of big sort of characters, and I think that played a massive part in our success. Because when it comes to the big game, I never think, is Rudiger going to show up? Is he going to be hiding? You just know he's going to be front and centre. And he's always, as you said, he's great entertainment as well. When you watch a corner kick, he's always there irritating certain players, whether he's tapping them on the back, pinching them, so he knows how to wind people up. And, we all like that. And I think with him is he with those sort of personalities, it can go one or two ways. He's obviously very much a fan of Tuchel, and Tuchel obviously rates him highly. And as long as you know how to deal with those sort of personalities, then they're fantastic. And I think that is the worry. I think out of the three players we've been saying, Azpilicueta, Christian, and him, I think he would be the biggest loss, in the sense he is that leader on the pitch that will actually fight for the team. And I think I worry that if we did lose someone like him, you lose a bit of that personality in the side, that that spark. And he's the sort of player that would do a big tackle and then he do a load of big hands to the crowd just to rile everyone up. And I just think we do lack that personality at the minute. So yeah, definitely a mentor. I think Malang Sarr's probably learnt a lot from him in the few months, and I think Chalabar himself said he's learnt a lot from him and Silva. So
already you could argue that Malang Sarr, he has that Rudiger spirit.
Yeah, and he's quite happy to put his foot in as well. He's not afraid to put in a tough tackle. So it's really good to see.
Yeah, thank you very much for putting it that way. And before we continue, please, if you haven't, please smash that like button, share the stream on Twitter or whatever platform, social media platform you have access to, so that we can reach more people. And the Blue Morning Show is a daily show. We started that last week, and I think the response has been great. It's not the biggest yet, but we're getting there. So thank you all for providing great value, and like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. So now, I think we've talked about his influence on the younger players. They like him. He has a good relationship with the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi. And I think almost every player in the team has a good relationship with Antonio Rudiger. And also, he's a good professional, never complains, because he could have left under Frank Lampard. And when he had issues under Frank, when it seemed as if he was on his way out of the doors of Stamford Bridge, when asked, I think at the time when the media started talking about his form, then he said openly, yes, whatever they said then was true. And that's, it takes guts for someone to accept, yes, I wasn't in great form then. And he didn't leave. He stayed. He wanted to fight for his place. And that was really good to see. So a great comment there by Street Beer to help us talk about Antonio Rudiger's influence on the team. So he said, then do so want to see him score one goal from the back with his mad runs. Yeah, if that happens, I mean, that will be the icing on the cake, because it's always good to see him make those beautiful runs from the back. And this is just my brother saying hi to everybody. Cool. Wow, we need to use that kid in coming seasons. Who are they talking about? I missed something. Maybe Tobago is talking about Malang Sarr. I'm not sure. Just let me know. Silva is just a power range. He is different. If Rudiger has had a better offer, he would have signed them for now. That is the truth. Lots of clubs don't have the money right now. The clubs that wanted him, that are rumored to be seeking Antonio Rudiger's signature, the truth is they don't have the money right now to probably pay him more for him to sacrifice the comfort of his family, who he's openly talked about how they've settled in London, and he wants to make sure his family is happy, because if he switches to somewhere like Spain or Italy, if he wants his family to still, if he moves it with his family, it's a start from zero, because they will start learning another language. But if they continue staying in England, it's still English, and the whole thing will be seamless for him. But what do you think concerning this comment? Clubs like Real Madrid, who's been rumored to be seeking his signature, and Bayern Munich, do you think they can afford him to give him more money to decide to switch to Germany or France or maybe Spain?
Yeah, I actually think that's a good point. I think he probably would have potentially signed for another team if he had a better offer. I think the longer it actually goes on, the more likely he is going to stay. And there was an interview, wasn't there, a few weeks ago, where he kind of said he's pretty happy there, his kids are settled. So I do think it is more likely at the minute. I mean, I don't know if clubs are offering similar money to what we are. I think, again, the last rumoured sort of offer we made was about £180,000 a week, which, is quite a lot of money. I think for a club who hasn't had this player, they probably, I don't think they would necessarily offer a lot more. You might get a club offer 200,000 a week, but then I suppose, as you were just saying, it's then moving your kids, moving your family, learning new culture. I think he's probably just thinking, look, there's a few more months to go till the summer. I'll just keep waiting a little bit longer just in case a club comes in with a great offer. But I think the good sign is it doesn't look like in his performances that he hasn't really given up for us. And normally you get a feeling of that with certain players when they know they're leaving. So I still got a feeling he's quite committed, and I still think there's a possibility he will stay, in the sense that Real Madrid may not want to offer that sort of money, or whoever is linked with him.
Yeah, they are in financial distress at this point, even Barcelona are. So they must consider carefully giving a long-term contract to a player who's 28 or 29, and who's asking for around whatever the fee may be, because it's not easy. I think Chelsea are in a better position because he has his family here, and Chelsea are well aware of that, and he wants to stay, really. Yeah, I think we should try and find a solution and keep the player. And like I've said before, the term proper Chelsea, the term what's the other term again? Chelsea through and through doesn't come bigger than Antonio Rudiger. He personifies those two terms. Yeah, thank you very much for that great input there. And this is my brother helping me get more likes. I appreciate that, Ankit. Nice to see you there. I have Tide Talks, big up CP, Chelsea Perspective. Thank you. The ball is into Chelsea's hands via Rudiger's situation. Is that the case, Harry?
Again, I think the longer it goes on, yes, because clearly, I think as the comment said before, I don't think if he was, adamant he was leaving Chelsea, I think we would have heard something by now. It's one of them. It's a gamble, waiting and trying to offer him more money. And, I'm glad we haven't panicked and gone, do you know what? He's playing so well at the minute. Let's offer him 200 grand a week, just like that.
No, not when Marina is still at the club.
No. And that, I think that's, I don't mind that. At the end of the day, it's down to the player will, it doesn't matter what happens. The club want him at the end of the day, and he knows that. And he probably wants to stay deep down, but he just wants to get the best deal possible for himself, and I think probably as much as winning the Champions League is great, it's one of those things where obviously when you win the Champions League, it just gives you that extra, power to say, well, look, I'm one of the best defenders in the world and I want more money. And I think we have got it in our hands now. Probably we didn't a few months ago, but clearly those clubs haven't offered the sort of money maybe he wants yet, because I think, we would have heard something if that was the case.
Yeah, thank you very much again. As always, a great input. Yes, believe so, Buzz. Okay, yeah, we've talked about that. And when Tide Talks, who also has a great YouTube channel, says Koundé has more time on the ball in La Liga. Bringing Koundé wouldn't be to replace Christensen. That's a good comment. If we eventually secure the signature of Jules Koundé, Harry, who would you think he will be replacing, or what position do you think he will be occupying? Yeah, let's say Andreas Christensen stays and Thiago Silva stays, and we bring in Jules Koundé. Where do we have space for him?
I think it would probably be a case of either Sarr or Chalobah maybe going out on loan. I think there is a bit
on the left.
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, I don't really know. From what I've been told, he's quite versatile. He's, can pretty much play across the line. So, I think that probably is something that's quite attractive to them. At the end of the day, it's one of those. There's so many games we're actually playing in. We look at it now. We're in every cup competition still left. We've just gone and won a couple more. I don't think it'd be a case that we necessarily have to get rid of anyone anyway. I think Silva's going to kind of be there next season as more of a experience and mentor, and I don't think he will play like he has this season. So, there's always a bit of shuffling around, and we've seen this season with the amount of injuries and competitions, there'd always be games for these sort of players anyway. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I still think, we might get rid of Assar just on loan for a season, even though he's been really good. I think we might just think for one more year, go and let him play 38 games in the season. Let's say, go and play a full Premier League season. Maybe he'll come back even better. Who knows?
That's a difficult one. I couldn't wrap my head around the mathematics or calculations to find out where Kunde fits in. It's a difficult one for me, and I already have a lot going on in my head. I wouldn't have the time to do that calculations like you did right now. So this comment here, it's my friend correcting me. He always likes to fight me and disgrace me in the public, letting people know I've been saying 60 million while it is just 40 to 45. I think he's probably done the mathematics because Kunde has only 2 years left on his contract. So that makes the potential buyers give some more ground to negotiate and find a better price for him. I think he's correct, but still, I have more reasons to not go for a new player and have a player and not let for instance, if the plan is to let Andreas Christensen go or Trevor Chalobah go and bring in Kunde, I'd say keep players who's experienced the Premier League, because the truth is, wherever you're coming from, if you come into the Premier League, the truth is there's no guarantee you will fit in properly. It takes time to adapt, and it takes time to assemble a solid defensive line. It's more like like I said before, that is one of the most difficult departments on the pitch to get it right. It's never easy. So I'm tired of people coming after Lukaku. Well, I'm not going to that today, Tobago. It's a topic for another day. I'm tired of talking about him too. We should move on. He's with us. We should support him. We all have a role to play to see maybe he starts firing on all cylinders. And Eric Blues is just... Madsen is more than that. It's the argument on Kunde's price. We're not going to go into that now. And big up my brother Eric. I would like to ask you how you're doing in Pidgin. I know you're Nigerian, and I'm also Nigeria is my birth country, even though I live in the United States. How day, my brother? I hope you day fine. That's Pidgin English. Now we have Eric Blue also there. Okay, that's between them. We have watched Kunde a lot lately. He makes time so zero. Do you understand that phrase there?
Not sure what that was on about.
He makes time too. Maybe he's trying to talk how he keeps the ball, something like that. But maybe I know she will explain. That's why I love the Queen, always having her around. Matson, just do the research. Okay, still between the two people in the chat. No, Kunde is not better than him. Okay, at least I have somebody on my side. And Fahim says, I feel Kunde is Aspi's replacement just because he cannot play in the right back position and right wing back position as well. I think that's a good comment there. What do you think?
Yeah, again, maybe so. There's so many positions in defence because even though obviously we got the wing backs, we're essentially a back five when we're defending. He's quite a quick player, so yeah, maybe that's the case. Obviously, it's always going to be difficult for a player coming in, sort of playing as a right wing back, because you're going to be behind Reece James. So maybe it's the best thing to have a sort of versatile centre back who can maybe go across that line in case, like the situation we've got now, we've got injuries to Reece James. So maybe it is that. Maybe it's that versatility that he would offer us.
Now that begs the question: if that is, because if we still have Andreas Christensen at the club, and we still have what's his name, the king himself, Thiago Silva, and we bring in Jules Koundé, what happens to Reece James if he's gonna play on the right hand side or maybe in the right wing back position? What happens? And we still have Trevor Chalobah, who has executed the right centre back position very well on his day, except after the injuries. He looked a bit after his injury, the last injury he had. He looked a bit shaky when he came back. So now, what happens to Reece James if we're buying him to play in the right wing back position? What happened, or right back? What happens to Reece James?
Well, I think Reece James will play whatever. I can't see Reece James ever being taken out of the team. I think Koundé would primarily be in a back sort of centre back three, provided we stay in the same sort of system we are now. I think it's, let's just say, best case scenario that we have Rudiger and Christensen stay. I could see either Chalobah or Sarr just going out on loan just because we've got so many players. And again, I don't see Silva staying much more than a season after that anyway. But we're almost going to potentially have another problem on our hands. We've been saying about how many players might be going.
We'll have a problem, but a good problem. And here's how I see it. Sorry, you're still talking. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, here's where I see it. I've always argued what makes Chelsea different from that is the difference between Manchester City and Chelsea Football Club is just one big reason. Pep Guardiola doesn't sign backups. If he signs you, you have a role in the team. And if player A doesn't play, when player B comes in, you won't even notice there's a difference.
Yeah.
We don't have that at Chelsea. Well, the problem is Chelsea. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, that's what we were saying a little bit earlier on, weren't we? When Chilwell gets injured, you've got Alonso coming in, a completely different profile of player. And you can look at City as well. Don't forget last summer, they were wanting a striker. They wanted Harry Kane, and they didn't get him. And they were like, well, we'll just stick with what we've got then. We won't go and panic buy and sign a player that doesn't fit our profile. And I think that's what we need to do. I think this summer we need to almost have a situation where if players do get injured, that the backup can come in and they just naturally fit that role.
And can we not call it, sorry, I didn't mean to can we not call it a backup? Let's have a competition. Whoever comes in plays better. So because at City you can't look at any player there and say that player is a backup. But go ahead.
No, I think you're right. I think the one thing I don't want to hear is players sort of sitting on the bench and being happy to be on the bench. So when you sometimes see these interviews come out where maybe Pulisic says he's not happy with the current situation, he's playing out of position, that doesn't really bother me because at the end of the day, we want them to be unhappy sitting on the bench and not playing in the right position. We've had a situation with Emerson really where I think he was too happy to sit on the bench. But I think more importantly, you're right, there's not anyone currently, particularly in the attacking areas, that are really saying this is my position. So any player that does come, why can't they make that position their own? And that's what you want. You want competition for places. You don't want a situation like at Spurs with Harry Kane, where if you're trying to sign a striker, you're either going to be the backup or you're going to be in a two. But ultimately, you're not the main man. So, I completely agree.
And the truth again is this. If we start behaving like City by signing all starters, compete. And if you're in a better shape before a game, you start. Or maybe it depends on the opponent we want to play. You get a chance to play. And the most important thing here to highlight is that we have too many games. So no matter if we have just at least two players in a position, they will all get a chance to play because there's not that possibility for a single player to play the whole games all through the season and not burn out. And Tuchel also has shown us he has found a way to keep them all happy. You can play every game. So if we have competition for in every position, if we have, let's say, 60 games per season combined in every competition we play in, I don't know the correct number, and each player gets to play at least 30, it's balanced. Even if the other person plays 40 and the other plays 20, it can still be balanced. It depends on who is in a better form. So we should stop going for players as backup, what we call backup players. We should be going for starters so we have competition in every position. I think it was like that, a bit like that under Jose Mourinho, because whoever starts puts in 150% shift. But right now, we have what the fan base call deadwoods. Whenever the starting player gets injured, we're in trouble. It has happened to us in the midfield area. Whenever Kante isn't playing, we don't have another player who can always protect our defense perfectly like he does. Whenever Jorginho gets injured, we find it difficult to control games. Whenever Mateo Kovacic gets injured, we find it difficult to progress the ball. Whenever Ziyech gets injured, we lack creativity in the attacking area, just things like that. And now if Romelu Lukaku gets injured, we don't even have a profile player. If we want to use somebody like him, we don't have another player who can do that job very well. So it is something we have to look at seriously. And that's a great, this comment here. Thank you, Fahim. Fahim also has a YouTube channel. I think you should go check out his channel because he has great content and some great panelists there he always brings on. Most of them I've become friends with, and I think you've seen some of them here. And this commentary about the Queen saying Kunde would be useful to Tuchel. Yes, I believe that because Tuchel, the way he plays, he likes players who can keep the ball. And Kunde, you could argue, is a bit aggressive too. So that is good for us. Okay, let's see this again. I did research. Okay, that's the fight between the two people in the chat. That's up to you. I'm not going to come in there. I read this on Twitter. Chelsea had one of their scouts watching Wolves centre backs Max Kilman. I've had somebody else talk about Max Kilman, and that is my friend who's over time also become a brother, Tyron Sajdiva. He wanted to do. I have a show here called Scouting for Chelsea, where our guests come and we talk about why they want a club to sign a certain player. I think Tyron was the first person that brought my attention to Wolves centre back Max Kilman. He wanted to do an episode of Scouting for Chelsea. So I wanted to ask you, or Harry, what do you think about Max Kilman? Do you think he would do well at Chelsea?
Yeah, I think he would actually. He's a player who seems to be on the rise. He's only 24, and I know he's kind of sitting around, or he's being mentioned in Gareth Southgate's England team. So he's clearly someone that everyone seems to rate. And obviously, Wolves are having a good season as well, you know. And I think it's quite good for us to actually sign players from the Premier League. And we were talking about this earlier. We don't seem to sign many players from the Premier League, and we've also been linked with Adam Webster at Brighton as well. So clearly, we're looking at a centre back potentially again who might, have that Premier League experience. And if we can sign a young centre back who's got the potential to improve, I think Tuchel can improve any player anyway. I think he's shown that. I'm all for it. I think looking at the profile of him, I think he's quite a big player, so he's quite physically strong, and I think that's a good thing. We want to be quite tough at the back at times, and if you look at all the old Chelsea teams, we're naturally normally quite big teams. I remember a squad where we had, you had like Matic, you had Costa, you had Terry, Cahill, you had a big team. And, I think that, provided that, we don't know if Wolves would want to sell him anyway, because I know he's highly rated, but I like the idea of signing someone from the Premier League, definitely.
Yeah, but so we're not going to go through the process. Oh, he's still adapting, give him time. We want somebody we can sign and, just the only issue we'll have is just him developing chemistry with his fellow teammates. We have just a few minutes to round up. We're going to go through the comments so quickly. This is still between, and notice just the Queen agrees with Just Viola's suggestion for Max Kilman. Did I say his name right?
Go on.
Either way, one becomes our asset at 23. He will improve. Stop talking about the fee when we last tried to buy him. Okay, thank you, staff. Thank you again for taking a jab at me. I'll take it with a pinch of salt. I'm going to end the poll. So we talked about the poll. And what's it again? I need to see the result of the poll. Just 1 second, Harry. Sorry, I don't mean to keep you that long here. It's a difficult one. So, Harry, I'm looking at the poll here. And the poll asks, which of these players would you let go? 45% says Cesar Azpilicueta, 45% says Andreas Christensen, 9% says Rudiger. Okay, that speaks volumes that our majority wants Antonio Rudiger to stay. Who would you let go, and why?
That's
if there's a need that we must let a player go.
From a football point of view, I think Azpilicueta, just because of his age, and as I said, I think he probably wants a new challenge anyway. And I just feel he has started to slow down. And I remember there was a report not too long ago which said his stats in training, because they all wear the sort of GPS things on their back, have started to drop off. So from a football point of view, probably Azpilicueta. But I think I agree with everyone in the poll that Rudiger's the one who I'd like to keep the most. The thing with Azpilicueta, he is a good ambassador for the club, and he is still, ultimately, he's the captain, and I think you could still keep him around for another year. I still think he could do a job. But again, it's just the age catching up with him. So I'd probably say the poll pretty much got it right, but I'm a little bit torn between Azpilicueta and Christensen, really.
Here's why I don't have a bias. I'm not biased. To me, the clear choice, if you ask if it's up to me, I would say Cesar Azpilicueta. And here's why. He's 30 already, right? Isn't he? So, and once you hit 30, the club, the Chelsea Football Club, they're always reluctant to offer long-term contracts to players at that age. And I remember you saying he's won everything at the club, and that's important. He's served the club very well. I think he's one of that is the most professional players we've had at the club after was it Ferreira? I think it was Ferreira who stayed. Yeah, exactly. So just let him go without blessing. If we can find a replacement as soon as possible, let him go. Because the relationship will not always be rosy. It happened with John Terry. It happened with Frank Lampard. It has happened with some of the biggest legends we've had at the club. Once you hit 30, this is the perfect time to say, let him leave without blessings. And most fans can agree. And if he leaves without blessings, the club blessings. And he can also come back to the club, in another capacity, if you like. Like we've started to offer, roles in the club's board and scouting system to our former players. That's me. So let's quickly run down this. I don't want to hold you too long. Sorry if that it's gone over an hour. I apologize to you. Let's go see if we can see anything. It's reported who's asking. Okay, Rudiger is talking about that. Big up Coachila. Sorry for missing previous sim. No worries, my brother. I understand. We'll find you a slot for next week because this week is fully booked. And we have Matt Law, don't trust. What do you think about that comment?
Yeah, I know it's one of them. I don't think he's very popular, but he does get quite a bit right. But yeah, I think sometimes the whole issue with the Rudiger thing was what caused a lot of people not to like him. So yeah.
Yeah, I think he's so leaky. He leaks a lot of stuff from the Chelsea camp, and sorry he blocked you. Yeah, and you probably say something that pissed him off. Okay, we're just gonna find one of us. Let's see if we see. Let me know if you see anyone you like so that we can round off with that one and call it a day. Passionate leader, aggressive, intimidating, and a good defender. Of course, that's Rudiger for you. You like this one, or should I keep going? We need one more to round off with.
Yeah, no, we can go with that one. I mean, again, I think that is important. As much as he is a top defender, we said earlier on, it's about the traits that he has. That we've got some great defenders. I don't think there's probably a team in Europe right now that's got a better defence than us. Okay, I know we've been leaking a few more goals recently, but about 6 months ago we had ridiculously good records. So, I think it's just that extra personality he has that puts him above the rest. And again, I don't think you can replace that. Maybe I'm wrong, but nobody's going to come in and know the club better than he does and bring those traits straight away. So it's going to have to be something that's grown in time with some of the players we've either got or someone we signed.
Yes, Harry, I appreciate you finding time to join us. And please, if you want, you can take some time and tell the viewers about you. And I know I'll provide your complete information in the description section. So I don't want to keep you too long because the agreement was just 30 minutes. I know you're a very busy man. I'll take some time to tell the viewers about Harry so they can get to know you even better.
Yeah, well, again, as I said earlier on, I've been a Chelsea fan since about 2003, so I was about 7 then. So I've been pretty lucky. I've kind of seen us win everything as well. I spend far too much time on Twitter, as you've probably noticed. I seem to be tweeting all day about loads of rubbish. So, yeah, you can follow me on there if you want to. But yeah, no, I mean, that's really all there is about me. I mean, I like the sport in general, so I play a lot of darts as well. So that's my other hobby, but obviously, in terms of Twitter, nobody seems to be interested in darts, so it's all football from there.
Yes, and with that, I think we can call it a day. I think we've, streamed for 1 hour plus, and the plan was to keep Harry here for just 30 minutes. And my apologies again for keeping you longer than we agreed on. And again, but it's a great show, and hopefully Harry enjoyed himself. And I look forward to bringing him back. And with that, I say thank you to everyone in the chat. If I start saying your names one by one, it will take some time also. I appreciate you all because the truth is you provide great value to the chat, and it's always good to have you available. I will provide Harry's complete information in the chat, so look out for it in case you want to reach him. He's always supporting Chelsea content creators, and he knows football. And as you've witnessed yourself, he understands Chelsea very well and understands what's going on at Chelsea. Harry, again, I cannot thank you enough. You've made my day, and it's been a great conversation, and I believe a great content for the Chelsea viewers. And with that note, I say goodbye to everyone, and thank you again. I cannot start thanking you all individually, but I appreciate you all. Thank you, and God bless you all. Bye.
Thank you. Thank